Hello, welcome to episode 30 of the Datapack tutorial series. We're going to do XP storage. I've got myself 100 levels. I don't want to lose them, but I've got some normal emeralds here. Just everyday emeralds. What I can do though is I have access to a trigger command, store XP. And if I run that, it's going to take some of my XP and put it onto an emerald. It has a cap at 50 levels. So if we just, we can just store. There we go, I've got no XP left. It's now safe for me to go exploring and not worry. Let's have a look at those. So we've got 5 that capped out, and we've got 1 not quite enough to be full. Okay, and then all we have to do is munch them back up, and what it does is it summons. Now you can't quite see it because it's very quick. Let's see if I change my view. We'll stand here. There we go. It summons an XP orb. And we're back to 100. So if I had some armor with mending or tools with mending, by resummoning my XP or cracking open my emeralds, that's what I imagine it is, and the XP juice drops out, I could still fix my tools with it. Anyway, I'm waffling on a lot, aren't we? I can't even hear you. Well, let's get on and build it now. Okay, I thought we'd start in VS Code. What we're going to do first is we're going to make the folders and the files that we're going to need later. So let's start. We're going to need some advancements. So in our namespace, let's create a new folder. Advancement. And in there, we'll create a new file. We'll have player joins.json. And it's going to be unhappy because I haven't put anything in there. We won't worry about that for now. And I'm also going to make another one called use emerald.json. Okay, now let's move to our function, and to keep it a little bit tidier, I'm going to put my commands or my functions into a new folder, and I'm just going to call that XP. And inside there, I'm going to make some new files. So we'll have the give XP, and that is going to be, let's put an O. That's going to be for retrieving the XP from the item. And we'll have a player joins. That's going to be run by that player joins advancement. That's just going to be for enabling, I've spotted a mistake in that one. That's just going to be for enabling the trigger we're going to use. And we'll have a new file. We will store XP in it. That's going to be initializing the store XP. And we'll have another one, store XP loop. That's going to be for counting up how much XP we want to store. And we'll have another one, store XP macro. That's going to be for storing the actual XP onto an item. And one more in here, we'll have trigger activated, and that is for, funnily enough, when the player activates their trigger. Do we need anything else? We're going to need an item modifier. So inside our namespace, we will create a new folder. We will call it item modifier. And inside item modifier, create a new file, and I'll call it, it's going to be removing 1 from the item, remove 1 from stack. Okay, so that should be everything we need. Let's start with load. Let's pop into the load. You can see there I've changed my load a bit. Now we are sending a bit more of a complicated message. It's just a link to my YouTube channel. Maybe it'll get me some more views. Okay, what do we need in here? I'm going to need my trigger, and I want a scoreboard to store some temporary data. I'm not going to do any comments, but they will be in the downloadable version. First thing, scoreboard, objectives, add, and we'll call it store XP. That'll be our trigger. That's what the player can run. And we'll have a scoreboard, objectives, add, and we'll just say temporary data dummy. Okay, we'll save that. That's going to be our load function done. Let's close everything down because we've got a lot open now. Does anyone know close all? I bet it's there somewhere. Let me know what it is. Okay, let's go to the tick function. So in tick, what are we going to do in here? We're going to check if the player has activated their trigger. So we'll execute as any player whose scores equal store XP equals 1 or higher. And for that player, we will run the function trigger activated. Okay, so if someone goes into chat and they do trigger store XP, that will add 1 or set it to 1. Then this ticking function will go, aha, and it will find them and it will run trigger activated. Okay, that seems all right. In fact, I think that's all we're going to need in the tick function, so let's save that and close it down. Now let's do player joins. So I think we'll make the advancement for player joins. Let's pop over to Miss Ode, who has recently changed the site slightly and it now confuses me a bit. So the first thing we need is something in criteria. And I'm pretty sure we can write anything we like in here. This is going to be a ticking advancement. So I'm gonna test it by writing just anything. I am a ticking monster. I'm going to call it that. I'm a ticky monster. That'll do. Okay, let's add that. What's your trigger? Well, your trigger is going to be tick. Do we have any conditions? No, I don't want any conditions, but I do want a reward. And a reward is going to be to run a function, which I will call placeholder. Okay, that looks all right. Let's copy that. Copy. Pop back over to VS Code, go to our player joins advancement and paste that in. There we go. Now placeholder we need to change. So we do have a function for that and we called it player joins. Okay, let's save that. That looks all right. Close that down. Let's go to player joins. When the player joins, we're going to have to enable that trigger for them. Once it's been enabled once, then every time they use it, it will re-enable for them. So this advancement will enable the trigger for them and then never run again for them, but that's okay. So we'll do scoreboard, players, enable, person who the advancement is running for, store XP. Save that. Player joins is done. Let's do a test on trigger activated. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is their trigger will be equaling 1 and then they'll never be able to use it again. So let's do scoreboard, players, reset at S, store XP. So that's going to reset their trigger. And then we'll do scoreboard, players, enable, at S, store XP. So we've reset their trigger and we've re-enabled it for them so they can do it again. Okay. What do we want to do next? Ooh. So this is going to be, the player is holding an emerald and the emerald doesn't have any data on it. It's just a normal vanilla emerald. And when they type store XP trigger, it's going to store the XP onto that emerald. So I think the first thing to do is let's leave the function if the player doesn't have an emerald. So let's do execute unless items entity, the person running this, their weapon dot main hand is an emerald. Run, return. Well, let's give them a bit of feedback. Run, say, no emerald. So they're not holding an emerald. Okay. Next, maybe they are holding an emerald, but it's already got some XP stored on it. So in which case I want to exit again. So let's just copy this command we've got here. But we're going to do execute if weapon main hand emerald. That's fine. But I also want to check, does it have Minecraft custom data wiggly wiggly XP true? Okay, so we're using the wiggle, not the equals. If you use the equals, it can only have this custom data. If we use the tilde, the wiggly, then it means it has this data, but it might have other stuff as well. Then what we're going to do is run return, and we'll change the message. We'll say emerald already has XP stored. Okay. So we're gonna quit if they're not holding an emerald, and then we're gonna quit if the emerald they've got has some XP stored in it. Now, I think the first thing we'll do is reset any temporary data we're going to use, and I want their current XP points, I want their current XP levels, and also I'm going to have some temporary data. So let's do scoreboard, players, reset. I'm going to use a fake player here. Player, current points, temp data, and player current levels. So we're going to reset both of those, and let's just paste that again. We're also going to reset points. I bet I've done that. Yeah, double P. Points to add. Okay. Now what we want to do next is get how many points they've got. Now XP is pretty confusing, to be honest. They have a level, and then they have a percentage to get to the next level. So we could do a load of maths and stuff, which I'm not going to do in this one. All I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, if they have some points or levels, then take 1 point off and add it to my points to add score. And then we're just going to loop around that, and we're going to keep going. But we're only going to let them store 50 points. If they store too many points, what will happen is the command, or Minecraft will reach its command per tick limit, which is 65,000, and it will just exit the function. There are ways around that as well, but you don't really want to change that. Anyway, I'll keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do function store XP loop. Okay. And then after that, I also know that if I have over 16 levels, I'm going to be 1 point short. So let's say I have 20 levels and I save them. When I give myself the XP back, I'm only going to get 19 levels. I'll be 1 point off getting 20. So what I'm going to do is add a little fix to that. I'm going to do execute if score points to add. Hey, temp data is what I wanted. Temp data matches. And now I happen to know that level, I think it's level 17, I believe, is 394 points. So if we're higher than that, or is that level 16? If we're higher than that, we're just going to add 1 more point. Run scoreboard, players, add, points to add, temp data 1. Okay. Now it's possible that the player has no XP. So in which case we can't store any. So let's deal with that as well. Execute unless score points to add temporary data matches at least 1 or higher, run return, run say no experience. And if it makes its way through all of that, at the end we will store the XP. So we'll do function store XP initialize. Okay, I think what we'll do now is we'll do the XP loop. Let's loop through the player's XP and add some points. We'll save that. And let's go to XP loop. Okay. Right, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to store the player's current points and the player's current levels. So we'll do execute, store, result, as a score. We can do points first. Temporary data, run, XP, query, the player the command is being run at, points. Going to copy that, paste it again, and we're just going to do levels and levels. So we're going to store into our two fake players, we're going to store the players' points and the players' levels. Now, I'm only going to let them store 50 at most, and I know that to have 50 XP requires a total of 5,344 points. So I'm going to execute if score points, if score points to add, temporary data matches 5344 or higher, run, return, fail. Okay, so what that's going to do is, because we're going to be looping through this, and if it gets to total of 50 levels, we'll just say, that's enough, let's leave now. Okay, but if we haven't left and we're still going, what are we going to do? Well, we also want to leave if the player's got no points or levels left. So let's do execute if score, player current points, temporary data, matches 0, if score, player current levels, temporary data, matches 0, run, return, fail. Okay, so we're going to store the players' points, we're going to store their levels. If we've already stored 50 levels, we're going to leave the function. If the player has no points or levels left, we're going to leave the function. Now, they've still got points. So what we'll do is we'll do XP, add, the player we're running at, -1. We'll take 1 point away from them. And we'll add that point to our points to add. Scoreboard, players, add, points to add, temporary data, 1. And now what we'll do is we'll loop back. Function, this. Okay, so we get their points, we get their levels. Have we stored 50 levels yet? If we have, we fail. If we haven't, we keep going. Do they still have points left? If they haven't, we fail. If they have, we take 1 point away, we add 1 point to temp data, and we start this function again. That seems all right. So let's look at our trigger activated. So we've gone through and done the loop. Okay, and if they have more than 16 levels, we add 1 extra point just to push it up. And then if they have no experience, we leave. But if they do have experience, let's initialize storing the XP. Okay, here I'm going to be storing some stuff in data. So the first thing I'm going to do is reset that data. So data, remove from storage. I think I'll use my traditional ID data and value. Okay, now what we'll do, we've cleared it, let's put something in there. Execute, store, result, as storage. I pressed score as storage, into ID data, into the value as an integer, multiply it by 1, run scoreboard, players get points to add, temp data. Okay, so we now have a number of points added to storage, and we can now use that storage with a macro. So let's do function store XP macro with storage ID data. Okay, S. Now something I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to remove one emerald from the stack that they're holding in their hand. And I'm going to make an item modifier for that. And to be honest, this item modifier is pretty simple. And let's do it in Misode anyway. Okay, let's do it in, let's go to item modifier. In fact, it looks like I've already made it. Excuse me. It's remembered. So we're going to do the function setCount. We're going to put -1 and we're going to add -1. So we're taking away 1. So I'm just going to copy that. Well done, Misode, for remembering that. Let's take that back. That's going to go in our item modifier, and I'll save that. So we're just going to be adding -1 each time we call that. So let's do the macro. Store XP macro. Ooh, right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give the player an emerald that has that value that we stored. I'm going to do it as a normal command first, and then we'll convert it into a macro command. So I'm going to do give @s emerald open and close. It's going to have some Minecraft custom data will equal open and close. We want XP true. We'll make sure we put XP, or the whole thing's not going to work. And we want value, and here's where we're going to be using the macro. For now, I'm just going to put the value as 999. We'll change that. And then I'm going to give it enchantment glint override equals true. I want to be able to eat the item, so I'm going to give it a food value equals food will need a nutrition value. I don't want to get any nutrition from it. It will need saturation. I don't want to get any saturation from it. It will need eat seconds. How long does it take to eat it? I'm going to set it for a long time because we're basically going to be doing this as right-click detection. So we'll set it to 1,000,000. And I want to be able to eat it whenever I like. So I set can always eat true. I do have a tutorial on about the new food component. I think it's episode 17. I'm not 100% sure. Because this is 1.21. Okay, so that seems all right. Let's give it a name as well. Item name equals. Let's give it a complicated name. Okay, open and close apostrophe, open and close curlies, and in there we'll say text, and we'll give it a color, and we'll say that's bold. Let's fill those in. Text, let's say XP storage bottle. It's not really a bottle, who cares? Color green and bold true. Now let's give it a bit of lore. Lore equals, that's a list. In there we'll have apostrophe, that's not apostrophe, it's apostrophe apostrophe, open and close curlies, and we'll have some text, and we'll say XP stored, and then let's say 999 because that's what we put for the value there. Okay, Now let's turn that into the macro, because in init, remember, we are storing points to add into ID data value. We are passing ID data so we can access that value. So let's go here to value. Don't put 999, put $ value, and we're going to copy that. And don't put 999 here, put $value. And then at the beginning of the command, we put a $ just to say, I am using past data. Okay. And now we want to take one item away from them. And that's where we're going to use our item modifier. We will item modify entity, the player who's been running the command, from their weapon main hand, remove one from stack, save. Okay. Do you know what? I think we can have a test. Let's go off to the world. Let's do a reload. Okay, give myself an emerald. Actually, let's give myself a command block. Give at P an emerald. I should probably clear my inventory first, but that'll do for now. Okay. Now, do I have the trigger? I don't have the trigger. I've already used the trigger while testing. So if you're new to the world, this wouldn't be a problem for you. So I'm going to revoke my advancement and imagine that I'm new. So advancement, revoke for me, only player joins. Okay, so I revoke the advancement. Now it's running. It goes, oh, you're a new player. I will enable the trigger for you. Well, that's what we're hoping. Trigger, and there it is. So, okay, let's do store XP. Well, first, I think it'd be a good idea if we actually had any XP. I do have 92. Okay, let's store. Trigger, store XP. Now I've got 83. Okay, so it's taken away. Why didn't it take away 50? Well, it's taken away 50 levels from 0. And we know that Minecraft experience goes up exponentially. So stored in here, we now have 5345. We can't get it back, though. But what I could do is I could have another emerald. And let's run the command again. It's given me another one. Now I've got 74. Okay, let's do it again. Now I've got 62. Let's do it again. Now I've got 45. So these are all the same. These are storing the same amount. This one can only afford to store 45 levels, though. So this one shouldn't stack. No, it's created one by itself. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's got a bit less. Okay. Now we want to be able to right-click these and get our XP back, please. I've just put it all in these emeralds and now I can't get it. So let's go back to VS Code. We'll get rid of that storage one. We'll get rid of store XP. And I think the only thing we really need to do is make the advancement for using an emerald. So let's do that. Let's go over to Misode advancement. Get rid of our last I'm a Dicky monster. Okay, so we need a requirement in here. We'll just give it I say using emerald, and just so you know, it can be anything. Using emerald face. I'm using emerald face. Okay, and then its trigger. What's its trigger going to be? Its trigger will be I'm using an item. Do we want any conditions? Yes, I want an item. I want that item to be a string. And it will be an emerald. Yep. Okay, that looks all right. We're going to have a predicate check onto its custom data. Yep, I'll add that. What am I looking for? I'm going to look to see if it's got XP true. do we need to store it as a string? There we go. XP true. I think we might have to do a little bit of changing there just to get that to work. And what will my reward be? My reward will be to run a function placeholder. Okay. Now all these advancements and things changing on the Miso site catching me out a bit. But this looks okay to me. I'm going to copy it. Let's take it back and do some fixing. So let's pop it into our use emerald. And I think, first of all, placeholder, well, we know we want to change that. So let's do my namespace. Okay, and we'll switch that to give XP. And this custom data is not going to be happy. So let's change that to what it's expecting, which would be curly brackets. Oh, I didn't expect it to keep that, but okay. Just having a little read there. I think that's okay. It's different to the one that I've got in my notes because my notes were done before the website changed. That looks fine to me. If you're unsure, we just test. So this is going to run give XP. Let's go to give XP. The first thing we want to do is revoke the advancement because we want to be able to get our XP back whenever we like. For the player, only, start my namespace, use emerald. Then we want to grab the amount of XP points that is stored on that item. So we will execute, store the result into storage, ID, data, we'll store it into value as an integer, multiply it by 1, run data, get from an entity, which entity, me, or the person who the command is being run at, and we want to grab from their selected item. And on the selected item, we want to check the components. And on the components, we want to check the Minecraft custom data. And in the custom data, we want to check the value. Then we want to take away an emerald, the one they're holding. So we'll do item modify entity at S. Weapon main hand, remove 1 from stack, and that's our item modifier we made earlier. Now we could just do XP add, but then it's just going to put it straight into the player's data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to summon it as an XP orb that the player picks up. That way, if they're holding anything with mending, they can fix their tools and armor. So let's do execute summon. What on earth are they called? Experience orbs? Minecraft experience orb. And we'll store the result entity at S. At S is now referring to this experience orb that we're summoning. We'll store it into their value as a short. I believe it holds shorts. Multiply it by 1. And then we'll do run data get from storage ID data value, which is what we got here. So we went to the item, we took the value we stored on the item, and we put it into storage. Then we remove 1 from the stack that they're holding, and then we summon an experience orb with a value equal to the value we stored. Okay, I'm feeling safe. Let's go back and have a look. So, what were we on? We were on 92, so if I eat all of these, I should go back up to 92. So let's eat 1. Takes me up to 45, that's a good start. I could just keep my finger down here. 92. Nice. Done. We can now trigger, store our XP. If we had emeralds, let's get some emeralds. Let's just put a 64 on the end of there. There we go. So we could store XP. Oh, I'll store some more, please. let's go into survival. I'll store some more. I'll store some more. I'll store some more. I'll store some more. It's giving me the warning. No experience. No experience. Okay, that works. What about if I'm holding this sign? No emerald. Cool. What about if I'm on an emerald that's already got data? Emerald already has XP stored. Seems good. Okay, now let's eat these again. We can look down here. I should be able to... There's the orb. There it is. And we're back up to 92. Cool. We can now store our XP in batches of 50 using ordinary emeralds, which is pretty cool, I think, because you could go to a mob farm, you could take a load of emeralds, and you could just stack a load of these up, take them home, keep them in your drawer for later. Anyway, we've been here for a while, so I will see you soon. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.